Hi everyone, welcome on Money. I am Mark, and today I will have the pleasure to talk about Ventripon, a medical device company that develops and commercializes diagnostic tools that monitor patients with heart disease worldwide. I will be with Peter Weichler, Board Secretary, George Adams, CEO, and Robert Hodkinson, Director. How are you guys?
Very well, thank you.
Dandy.
So you have a breakthrough technology, literally. And would you say that your technology has, and the company has exploited the economic advantage of Ventripon tech on reducing existing MRI expenses and echocardiogram ultrasound times?
Yeah, we absolutely. The economics are pretty outstanding, actually. I mean, an MRI costs, $3 or $4 million to buy and $1 million a year to run.
Mm-hmm.
It would cost $2,000 or $3,000 to have an MRI done in the United States. A lot less in the UK or in Europe, but still, that's because the people who are running them are government or hospitals, and they lose money every time they do a cardiac procedure because you're in the machine for an hour to 2 hours. So you can only do 2 or 3 cardiac patients an afternoon on an MRI machine, and so it's a very expensive procedure and very traumatic, actually, for the person who has to go all the way into the MRI machine and hold their breath every time they want to take a picture. And it's very noisy, very claustrophobic.
Mm-hmm.
Our system is using conventional 2D ultrasound. Anyone who's ever had an ultrasound exam of their heart knows it's very quick and easy. They put a little gel on your chest, they put the ECG leads on, and then 15, 20 minutes of scanning, and you can get 16 different views of your heart. The challenge for the clinicians is to, looking at all those 16 different slices, you can imagine it's the perennial blind man looking at an elephant, right? What is this thing? And so they struggle to imagine what this heart is actually functioning in 3 dimensions. And so our ability with our artificial intelligence system that we've been working on for over 15 years to take all that disparate information and all the different views and put it all together and build a beautiful 3-dimensional model of the heart, which they can look at, rotate, watch the heart beat, and get all the information they need from a standard exam. We're not asking them to do anything different in terms of examining the patient, only analyze that data set and get all this additional information out of it, and not have to go to send the patient for an MRI. In Canada, the waiting list now for an MRI, cardiac MRI, is 6 months. So, if you have a person with a heart problem, you don't want to wait 6 months to find what's wrong with the heart. Whereas 2D ultrasound is right now. I mean, the way, even if you go to your cardiologist, a lot of cardiology groups, 3 or 4 cardiologists get together, they have their own echo machine, and they can do the exam right there on the spot and look at it.
So basically, you would say that the capital cost is cheaper, and even after the process of using your machines is cheaper because it's faster, you would say more convenient. You don't have to do several appointments. That's it.
That's right. I mean, it's an immediate, right? And the one big advantage, the economics of it are, again, much cheaper machines. The 2D ultrasound machines relatively inexpensive compared to an MRI. Our added on equipment is not that much expensive, but the whole point is you can do the patient over and over again. So you can monitor how the patient's heart is progressing with different therapies. You can change that therapy when it's not working, right? I mean, it's not uncommon to have change a heart patient's therapy every 6 months when the first one doesn't work, and you start with one drug, and that after a while that's not doing as good as it could. Then you put on a second drug, and then a third drug, and then you go back. So you do all these different things over a longer period of time, and you need to be able to examine that heart over and over and over and over again. People who've been in an MRI once don't want to go back ever again. So
yeah, for sure, yeah.
And the healthcare system won't pay $3,000 every 6 months to have an MRI done on every patient. We couldn't afford that. So, and right now the clinicians do 2D ultrasound on those patients and get a very small amount of information and decide how the heart is functioning based on that small amount of information. We provide, in the same time, we can provide, three-dimensional total functional heart information, and they can make a much better assessment of whether, whether it's time to change the therapy or it's fine. The heart's doing well.
Okay, and so your technology is able to see more, like, to analyze the heart disease issues. Is it possible to measure the hypertension as well?
Well, so there is quite a bit of literature in the, going back 10, 15 years showing that an accurate and reliable measurement of the volume of different chambers of the heart is a better indication of hypertension than measuring your blood pressure with a pressure cuff on your arm when you've just walked up a flight of stairs, or you're excited because you're at the doctor's office, and in fact, about 15 to 20% of people have hypertension in the middle of the night.
Okay.
Hypertension. So, and they have the same heart attacks and giant, all sorts of adverse events, strokes, as people with regular hypertension. So they still end up in the hospital over time, consuming a huge amount of hospital healthcare dollars, and you can't even diagnose them with a pressure.
Okay.
But the literature is clear that if you measure accurate volume, you can differentiate between people who have hypertension and people who don't have hypertension. So yes, we anticipate that we would be able to do that with our system is much more accurate and precise, equivalently accurate and precise to an MRI, much more accurate and precise than conventional 2D or 3D ultrasound. So we would, we intend to embark on a study to see whether we can do a better job diagnosing hypertension.
And so, because you are on the path for this type of disease, have you already been what's the revenue model for hypertension, equipment cost, profit margin? Would there be, let's say, a pay-per-use fee, license fee?
Well, yes, there's a, if you look at the healthcare, different healthcare systems all around the world have different, have different ways to pay for things, right? But if you use the best model where you can at least quantify what the reimbursement would be for, a more accurate hypertension test, that's one way to go at it. So right now there's something called an ambulatory blood pressure measurement, where you wear basically a pressure cuff for 24 hours. It inflates 3 times an hour and measures your blood pressure over 24 hours. It's very uncomfortable. People don't like doing it, but you do get, the doctor gets compensated about $40 to do that test. So, doing a very ultrasound exam on somebody where you really only need 2 views to quantify the volume of the left atrium is much faster, quicker, and cheaper than doing the test. And obviously you get an answer as opposed to the amyloid test, where 50% of the time the person takes in the middle of the night, even when they're sleeping, rips it off their arm. If you don't get all the measurements, then it's useless, right? So yeah, so there's already reimbursement for these kind of very awkward blood pressure measurement techniques, which we would replace, right? And if you look at it from the other end of the scale, like, what's the benefit, economic benefit of diagnosing somebody with hypertension and treating them? It's huge. It's enormous. Okay. You're looking at, giving somebody who's got blood pressure, let's say 130 over 90, and getting them down to 120 over 80. So just moving them down a little bit. The effect of that is to lower the event over the next 5 years by 30 to 40%. So 30% of people, if you give them this pill, it's just, it's a simple diuretic. It's 20-cent a day pill. You can pull billions and billions of dollars out of the healthcare systems worldwide by simply diagnosing the person is in fact has hypertension, and giving them the pill and moving them down 10 millimeters of mercury. That's enormous, right? Because again,
for sure.
I mean, heart disease is the number one cause of death. It's the number one cost in the healthcare system.
Okay.
In the Western healthcare system. And so taking 30% of the cost out of the healthcare system is huge, a huge number.
Definitely.
cardiovascular, and the last number I saw on cardiovascular costs in the United States was in 2013 was $200 billion.
I just wanted to jump. I'm sorry. I just wanted to.
A big number, right? Yes.
I just wanted to jump about something when you were talking about heart disease. We know that because of COVID, we saw like more and more heart problems.
Yes.
Would you say that your technology is more used? I wouldn't say, I'm not going to say thanks to COVID, but because of COVID, do you see like companies using way more your technology than before, as an example?
Well, we don't right now. We are uniquely able to look at the right side of the heart, and about
Okay.
40% of people who get COVID, even if they don't end up in the hospital, end up with some kind of heart problem, mostly
Okay.
right side heart problem. So again, you're not going to start putting 40% of the people in the world who were tested positive for COVID in MRI.
Mm-hmm.
Possible to do, but you can do echo on them. So you could scan through the people and find the people who had having heart problems, especially right heart problems, and treat them. And a lot of people are now looking at long COVID, people who had mild symptoms when they were first infected, and then 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 12 months later, they've got all these other problems, right? And again, that's, the data is about 70% of those people who report chronic problems because of COVID have heart-lung problems. Okay, so now you've got a whole cohort, a very large cohort of people who need to be followed for the rest of their lives and have their heart examined every 6 months to see when they're going to go into heart failure. Now, it's still early days. We don't know whether the people who have, we can document that they have enlarged right hearts that are slightly dysfunctional, that may recover, that may get worse. We don't know yet. But certainly we went through this scenario 15 years ago with SARS, which was another coronavirus infection. Fortunately, it was only a couple thousand people. They were able to contain that very quickly, especially here in Canada. But we now have, 10% of those people who got SARS 15 years ago still have chronic heart and lung problems and have to be treated for heart failure, 15 years later. So even if it's just as bad as SARS, 10%, we're talking about 300 million people in the world who've been infected. 10% of that is 30 million people who are going to end up chronic heart problems for the rest of their lives. So yes, it's a huge opportunity for us because we are uniquely able to study those hearts and again repeat over and over and over again, look at the heart in a very cost-effective manner. It remains to be seen how many of those patients filter down in, but that's a very big number. I mean, it's almost equivalent to the number of people with heart disease in the world today. So we're almost doubling the number of people with heart problems.
Okay. And today, is it possible to know how many machines you have sold?
Well, we have 25 machines. By the end of the year, we'll have 25 machines in
25, okay.
top cardiac centers in Europe, UK, Switzerland, Canada, and China.
Okay.
But they're, it's early days. Those are, top centers with really far-sighted chief echocardiographers who are using the equipment on COVID patients, cancer patients, pulmonary hypertension patients, congenital patients, valvular patients, diastolic heart failure patients. Also, we talk about heart disease, but heart disease can be broken into 1,000 different kinds of heart disease. So there's lots of different subgroups of that, and so every center has their own focus and children and adults. So we anticipate having more and more studies come out showing the value and use of the equipment in various situations, and COVID is one of them.
And so is it possible to know if you have already governments like provincially or states who approach VPT for large purchases?
We have an application into the Ontario government because we're headquartered in Ontario to roll out the equipment into hospitals in Ontario as a Ontario program. That's under active review right now. We expect to get an answer sometime early in the year on that.
You're on camera.
We're doing, we're supplying all the information they need to show the value and use, especially in COVID. In China, they're looking at it's trying to set up even ICUs with our equipment to do triage. Because again, it turns out that, by measuring the size of the right ventricle of the heart, you can predict which patients are going to make it through the ICU and live, and which patients are not. And where you're in a triage situation where you don't have enough ventilators for everybody, you have to decide who gets the equipment, who doesn't. And so we have one of our machines is in the ICU in a major hospital in Singapore, not Singapore, in Shanghai.
So would you say that everything
that there's going to be another outbreak and they're going to need it?
Yeah. So would you say that everything, all the sales are gonna start beginning of Q1 22?
Say that again, Mark. Sorry.
Right. Would you say that everything, all the sales, are gonna start beginning of next year?
Yeah, we have a target to have 80 to 100 users by the third quarter next year. That's a sort of natural threshold between early adopters and getting into a broader distribution. We have a collaboration going on with General Electric Healthcare, and they're going to launch the product into the United States early next year. So we may have many more than that very much more quickly, because GE is the #1 provider of cardiac ultrasound equipment worldwide. And so they have a huge customer base, and so we've integrated our technology into their standard platform, and they're going to go to their customers and sell them on upgrading to be able to look at the whole heart using our technology instead of just the left ventricle. And so we anticipate that may have many more sales, but it's our target. I think our target is reasonable, and it's somewhat dependent on COVID. So every time we think we've got COVID in a box, it leaps out again. So we're now dealing with the Omicron variant. So hospitals are not running at full capacity on their echocardiography group. They're doing emergency only, and so it's the more we can tame this COVID thing, the more we can get these machines into more hospitals and start using them on routine heart failure as well as long COVID patients. So that's the challenge. That's the push forward. We're signing up distributors for Europe, and we've got a list of 9 distributors in the United States we're currently engaging with to sell to other non-GE customers. I mean, GE is going to drive the adoption.
So would you say that you have distributors worldwide? That's it?
Yeah, we're going to do it through distributors. I mean, it's a technical sell. You don't want to. Distributors already have contacts. They know how the various purchasing procedures go. If it is capital purchase, then that's a whole procedure from a hospital inside a particular jurisdiction. If it's a lease with a per use fee, that's a different set of parameters. So we sell them in both ways. Different jurisdictions want it in different ways. I mean, Canada is much more of a buy it and use it environment. The United States is much more of a lease it and happy to pay because they get reimbursed, 4 or 5 times what our fee is. So they make good profit on it, and they can do a better job treating it. So
I just wanted to ask, because you were talking about General Electric. So basically they're gonna resell your products. That's it?
Well, we've integrated into their platform, and the expectation, and then we have come to commercial terms for them to be effectively our partner distributor worldwide for the GE customer base that they have. And so we're going to start in the United States, and they now have FDA approval to integrate our software into their platform. We've already done all that technologically, so it's just a matter of gearing up to launch the product at a major cardiology conference in the new year.
I see. And so basically, what I gotta ask this for like long term. So where would you see Ventripon in the next 5 years, and as an example?
Well, I mean, we want, this 2D ultrasound is used worldwide. Parts. Most places don't have an MRI, so it's really nice that we're better, faster, cheaper than an MRI, but most people, that's not even an issue. So it's really about getting more information from what you're doing already in a very rapid and efficient and accurate way. And so as we continue to prove that to everybody, we'll have more and more adoption. We'd like to see the equipment being used worldwide in 5 years' time, everywhere where there's a 2D ultrasound machine. Heart disease is still the number one killer worldwide. It's still, tens of millions of people a year. I mean, there's one person dies every 36 seconds from heart disease in the United States. It's third world has the same issues. I mean, they have lots of heart disease and lots of hypertension. So I would like to see our core product being used in heart disease patients. I'd also like to see the new product being used to find people with hypertension, give them that cheap pill every day. I mean, the World Health Organization just put out a study showing there's 1.5 billion people worldwide with hypertension who are not treated.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a lot of people, that don't get that simple pill, and would keep them out of having a heart attack. A lot of places in the world, if you have a heart attack, too bad.
So yeah, for sure. Yeah. So basically, you would say that it's the best time to invest in the company right now, right? Before everything is ramping up.
Well, yes. Well, we will. Yeah, we are on that tipping point where we will going commercial. We have a huge partner, GE, to help get there. I don't think it's just a matter of time. I mean, I don't want people to invest today hoping the stock's going to $5 next week. I mean, that's not.
For sure.
It doesn't happen in the biotech world, and in the medical device part anyway. So I think people need to get in here where we're at a fairly low price and hold on for
I just wanted to talk,
months, and then they'll be very, very happy for sure. Yeah.
I just want sorry.
Yeah, once we launch and get those machines in all over the United States, then it'll become the de facto standard of care, and so everybody will then have to adopt it.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, yeah, this is the pivotal. I've been an investor in this company for 4 years, and this is the pivotal time. Okay, all the technology has been developed. George is about to launch the fourth phase of the VMS. The company is well capitalized. There's no debt. The first of the big joint ventures is done. Other distributorships are falling into place. So what happened with COVID was a blessing as well as a scourge. We couldn't get into the hospitals, but it enabled him to finish what he had been doing. Okay, and now we're getting that acceptance. So the valuation of the company at this point of less than 50 million is, I think, very attractive for anybody.
Yeah. Okay, and I just wanted to jump on this because you might have some investors wondering about the cash, and we saw you did recently a private placement. Could investor, do you understand that investor have, I would say, a fear about a new private placement in the future to raise more cash?
Well, we have more than enough cash to last us for 2 years.
Okay.
We anticipate, having sales that will make that, that we won't have to raise more cash. However, there are these opportunities like hypertension and other heart failure conditions that we would like to invest in. So we also have a companion animal division, which is working on rolling this technology out for dogs and horses and other things, other kinds of animals. So, we're currently thinking about how are we going to fund those new initiatives. The money we have today is absolutely directed towards making a success out of the VMS 3.0 system in collaboration with GE. And so, I anticipate the price will go up significantly, and when we raise money, it will be at a much higher price and much less dilution and all those things that shareholders like.
Yeah, well, sounds great. I mean, you answered pretty much all the questions that me or other investors we wanted to know. So honestly, it's a great company with again great fundamentals and a breakthrough technology that we have everybody in the future. So even on a personal way, I'm happy that investors that invest in this company do it also just like basically first for investing, but also there is a noble cause on the background. Like it is gonna help so many persons. So I am happy to talk with all of you guys about your technology.
Right. Well, so we love shareholders to join us on our mission to improve cardiac ultrasound worldwide for everyone, and especially for children. Putting children in MRIs over and over again is not the way to run a healthcare system. So we're totally energized. The team is totally focused on achieving that goal, and we are overjoyed to have all the resources we need and a partnership to achieve that goal in the near future.
And it shouldn't be lost that George has been doing this for 25 or 30 years and has developed multiple technologies that save lives, and that's what he's doing.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think it was the perfect last words, to end up this chat. It was perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it to talk with you, and excited to see where the company will be in the future.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. Have a
Thanks,
great
Mark.
Thank you for your time, Mark. You bet.
Well done, George.